Well, greetings, everyone, and welcome to a delayed segment of To an Imperfect Union. Um, I thought it was important to have a show tonight uh, to talk about the Amir Locke situation. And um, I was actually on uh, Our Black News last Saturday when this news first came out. And let me see. I seem to be having problems with, let's see, uh, getting the link to the show sent out. Um, excuse me 1 minute here. Okay. All right. Anyway, um, and while listening to my fellow panelists talk about what had transpired that night, the no-knock warrant, and the consensus was that this was not about race. It was about training. Uh, the young man was asleep on his couch. No criminal background. As a matter of fact, this was a young man, 22 years old, a young black man with a permit to carry. So think of how squeaky clean this young man must have been, this young black man, to have been issued a permit to carry. He's asleep. uh, yeah. Okay. Um, let's see. Okay. Sorry for that. For that interruption there. But yeah, young man, obviously no criminal background, asleep in his own apartment, and you see the video of how the police enter his apartment. Young man, his parents say he was a heavy sleeper, And you can clearly see the pistol in the young man's hand, but he's in his own home and he has a right to have that firearm. One of the policemen pumped 3 shots into this young man. So on the surface, I'm saying to myself, okay, let me see. Okay. I'm surprised Mr. Scott's not here either. But I'll keep on going. Um, um, well, anyway, um, as I said, and then I thought about the whole process because there have been 139 average no-knock warrants issued annually in the city of Minneapolis. And then you go one step further. Okay. To whom are these no-knock warrants issued? And then it does become about race. Let's let's look up some facts here. And I found these on the internet. So I mean, this is not something that you have to take a long, hard look at to find it. Just you can just put it up in your browser there. Okay. Before 2020, Minneapolis police served an annual, as I said before, 139 no-knock warrants. A conservative estimate says that 68 to 72% of those no-knock warrants were served on minority suspects. Say that again. 68 to 72% of no-knock warrants were served on minority suspects. let's look at the previous record of the Minneapolis Police Department and the surrounding area. I mean, just within the last 2 years, you've had one uh, police person say that they mistook their revolver, excuse me, their weapon for a taser, shooting and killing an unarmed black man. We had George Floyd, where 3 police officers, excuse me, 4 police officers were found guilty of this man's death in varying degrees. We have another gentleman killed in the same area, I believe. So we've had at least 4 shootings within the Minneapolis St. Paul area within the last 4 years. So let's go a step further. A judge in St. Paul, the other twin of the Twin Cities, refused to issue a no-knock warrant. So they came to Minneapolis and had the no-knock warrant processed and served. Okay. So once again, it's hard for me to say that this was not about race. Good evening, Dr. Casey. How are you this evening? Your mouth is moving, but I can't hear nothing. Okay. Anyway, so once again, I have to ask myself, how can this not be about race if less than 20% of your warrants are served on non-minority people? And it's it's very strange that once again we're talking to a city that seems to have deaf ears. Um, I don't know. We're having a lot of problems tonight. Maybe it's the weather back east. I'm not sure. But anyway, um, can I hear you? Can you hear me? Well, we can see you anyway. What's that? Speaking Speaking Freedom TV. Okay. Yeah, we can see you. We can do everything. You know, let's see. Uh, hold on 1 second here. I'm gonna see if I can do something here. I'm gonna see. Let's see. Let's try. Uh, let's see. All right. Trying to reconnect. Anyway, um, as I said, it seemed very strange to me that how we can kind of shift the paradigm so quickly when sometimes if you go back to the root of the root of the problem, you know, it's like for those of you that bake, it's like making sourdough bread. Okay, can I hear you there? Hello? Hmm. We can still see you, but we can't. We just can't hear you. Oh, we're going old school here, right? We're going old school here. What?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Hold on, because I think I might have just did something wrong. So I got some new equipment. I'm trying to get my stuff together. So
Okay.
I did a show last week or just a few days ago with somebody that teaches how to do StreamYard, and he was telling me that my mic was giving feedback. Now we do this all the time. This mic was giving me no problems when we do it. So I was getting offended when the guy was telling me, like, hold on now, sir. I ain't nobody taught me this. And I don't want to delay the rest of the show, but I went and I got some new equipment, soundboard and all. And literally I have
Oh
to figure
man,
out
yeah,
how to get it to work.
yeah. I think I went to that same Streamyard conference, but I didn't put in. When was it? Like you said, a couple weeks ago, something like that. Yeah, I think we went to the same conference. Uh, where the guy was showing his soundboards and his different mics and the lighting and the whole 9 yards. Young brother, I believe it was. But yeah, you know. But it's but we didn't have any problems before. But you do have your own TV, network and whatnot. So you know,
So, I just got to figure out how to use it because clearly, I learned how to record the other day. I did a video from on my iPhone from the equipment. I had to do a whole lot to get it done, but I have not tried to do this StreamYard or anything live yet. And I don't know if I need a different mic for when I go live versus when it's not live. So I just got to figure it out.
it's actually, I know, something that you can do through your soundboard, but I'm not the one to try to tell you. It's like, yeah, you hook this up to no,
I mean,
that's
no,
not.
I have it hooked up to the computer. I have the microphone. Look, I got a whole little new mic. Look, I got a whole little. You know what I'm saying? I
Oh
got the.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
All right, hey, you went Maserati on us there. I see.
I mean, I just was trying to see what I could get myself into. But for whatever reason, I have to figure out how to work it um efficiently because clearly it has gotten the best of me. I thought I was gonna get on here and I was gonna, pop my little thing. I do voices. I can do voices and everything.
Hey, I hear you. Okay, all right, okay. But speaking of voices, I was talking about the Amir Locke situation, and as I said, I was on the program Saturday with people from Minneapolis, ministers, teacher, a few other people, and they were telling me that this was a matter of training and that you could not say it was a racial matter. And when I looked at it on the surface, when people were talking about it, I thought about it. I said, okay, well, it's possible, no, uh, the mayor had ran on the fact that he wasn't going to have no-knock warrants and so forth and so on, uh, but then I thought about it and I'm like, okay, uh, you say that this, as a matter of fact, here's Mr. Scott. Good evening, Mr. Scott.
Hello, hello. Good to see y'all.
I'm glad that you're on the show.
Really,
I
really,
was,
I'm totally glad because I've been people say I'm toxic and toxicity, and I've been banned, but
yeah,
so I'm glad
well,
to join you.
well, don't worry. I'm a four-time felon. It's hard for me to ban you from anything, so don't worry about that. But look, I was on with Our Black News on Saturday, and we were talking about the Amir Locke situation. And people were talking about how the Mayor Frey and the policewoman and that this was a matter of training, that the policemen should have been better trained. Um, and Saturday morning when I was talking, I was saying to myself, well, okay, this makes sense. But then I looked into it a little deeper, and I found out that in the city of Minneapolis, up until the year 2020, you had 139 no-knock warrants served on the average annually. And I looked into that a little deeper. 68 to 72% of those warrants were issued to subjects that were minorities. I looked a little deeper. You had a raid Saturday morning in a white suburb in which there were drugs and weapons found. There's no white subjects killed. You had a judge. You had a judge in the neighboring Twin City refuse to issue a no-knock warrant. So they brought it to Minneapolis, and the warrant proceeded to be served, and a young black man is killed. So, Mr. Scott, how can you keep saying that this is not about race?
Well, first of all, if somebody said that I said that, I was misquoted.
No,
You know,
like I said, no. This was the consensus of the panel that I was with Saturday, was that it was a matter of training. The police should have been better trained. You know,
these
so
police, these police blew this thing. And these people now, these parents, they're not playing. I mean, these people, they are really, they have had it with this. The city has had it with this. I mean, kids are leaving school to come out here and protest downtown. I mean, the cover is all off of them, and the whole procedure is so flawed. Okay, St. Paul has a warrant. Okay, so they asked Minneapolis. Now I don't know what the jurisdictional things are between those two departments, but St. Paul is just across the river. I can almost throw a rock over to St. Paul. So why they can't come and do what they have to do, that's something that we're not privy to for whatever reason. But the Minneapolis judge decided the only way they would do it, from what I'm hearing, is on the no-knock warrant. Okay, now they go into a place, so it's not even the person that they're looking for.
right,
How do they know who is in this building? I mean, this thing is botched to a point that it's just. I mean, this is something that you would see on the Laurel and Hardy or something. But this is the seriousness of it, and I'm happy that the people here have had it. There's not no training. It's not no look. This whole thing needs to be this whole thing needs to be overhauled. And when they had that press conference with that intern chief, she got up there and basically was just reading, oh, they were afraid for their life. They saw a gun and so wait a minute. Nikema said, no, 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 no. We're not going to listen to that now. We're not going
I
to listen.
love that she interrupted and corrected them. That was the most powerful thing that I've
Wasn't it? Right
probably ever
on
seen
the
in my
spot.
lifetime.
Right on the spot. Now you have to look now to find that. You won't really find it. They cut it off before you can see that. But that chief was just getting ready to just read a script where they were fear for their lives, blah blah blah. They didn't know who was in there. They didn't know that the person that they killed was who they were after. I mean, that is just a murder. And so they're all accomplices. And that this is one that's, unfortunately, this city just continues to step in this stuff time after time after time. And so it's just really gets sickening for people that live here and have to put up with all this BS that these police and these schools. Somebody just shot a bus driver today in the head, school bus driver. For what? I mean, what is that getting you? So we are in a bad setup here, and we'll see if the mayor, the chiefs, and these people can really, city councils, if they're not putting their heads together, if they're not working on this day and night. I mean, this thing has gotten away from them, and I mean, it's this is some serious stuff up here.
go
So
ahead,
I
Dr. Casey.
think that overall, technically, if we're gonna be technical, this particular incident is not totally about race. And I only say that because the training is race based. So if the training is race based, then no, one particular incident will not necessarily be about race. But if your training is race based and it comes from slavery and it comes from the things that were used to oppress people to keep them in alignment with what they wanted for us and keep us in check and keep us on, you know what I'm saying, on that gun line, then No, this situation wasn't about race, but if the whole training is race based, then yeah, the whole system is about race. Now what I will say when it comes to no-knock warrants, they've been doing that everywhere for a very long time. I think it's always been dangerous. We just have a microscope on things that were able to be passively or passive aggressively overlooked. Even when I think about now that I've read the articles about my uncle being killed by the police, based on the article, and based on what my aunt told me that the police said is that there was a robbery. And in the course of getting away, my uncle did not go in the store. My uncle was just there, like in the car with the people. And when they stopped him about 10 miles away from where it happened, they said my uncle pulled a gun out. But I really debating and struggling in my mind about whether I should call and ask to see the records, because a lot of times they will give whatever excuse the family wants to hear so that it's okay. And they've been doing that for a long time. Matter of fact, my aunt told me that my grandmother said if you felt like you didn't have a choice, then I can make peace with it. Well, of course they're going to tell you that they felt like they didn't have a choice because they want you to make peace with it. They don't want you to sue. They don't want you to go all the way in with where you could go. Now, whether or not she sued and all of that, I don't know. But what I realized in knowing that that happened to a family member in the 70s, 76, um, to now it's still happening, it shows me that it's a cycle. It's not like they're pinpointing now. They've been doing this the whole time. The whole rigged system is to pinpoint the urban community and to kind of keep them confused. When I say confused, I mean confused about who they are, confused about their rights, confused about what true liberty is and what true freedom is. And it's like for forever they do that. I'm gonna read you this script. I'm gonna tell you, and you know where that script come from years and years and years and years of them crafting it from these incidents. So every time something happened, if the script isn't fluffed enough to make people feel better about why they did what they did, then they go and they change the lettering. They go and they change how they say it, or the basic script. They probably just putting in names. Whatever name is at this moment, that's the one that we're reading in this particular situation. Overall, it's really scary as a non-criminal black person, because literally anytime I pass the police, I am in my mirror. I could not have any drugs in the car. I have a legal weapon, so I always have my weapon with me. But every time I get nervous, and I understand so many things when it comes to the police. Like not ride with your lights on, in the inside, just certain things that it didn't make sense as a child, that when you get older and you realize the way the system targets you, you do anything to try to remove that target or to lessen the effects of it.
But what that goes to show, I mean, doctor, is over the generations, over the years, the trauma that we have incurred, the trauma, the things that we have had mentally that have bashed us, and continue to see where is the out to this thing. As soon as we try to get somewhere, as soon as we try, it's always against us. They can spout so easy, like this chief said. Oh, they were afraid for their lives. They saw, God, you got
They
eight
they
people
they
with
they
rifles.
ramble that lie
You got
like
eight
they've practiced it.
you got eight heavily armed people with riot gear on. Here's a sleeping young man, and you're afraid I'm supposed to believe this shit? I mean, so yeah, but it really points out the things that we've had, our generations of our parents, their parents, the things that have continued to boil over with us. And I think what you just explained is this is what we deal with every day. This is what the kids are dealing with now. Now with the vaccines, now with it's just being poured on. It's just being poured on. And so again, I my experience has been here in the Twin Cities. I was in Chicago for a few weeks. I had a nice little break to get away from here. I really like the scenery in Chicago. I saw some very, very nice people there. Very nice. We had a good time. It was a great play that my cousin was in, the August Wilson play. But again, the trauma, and I think is something that we really need to kind of focus in on. It's just this post-traumatic slave syndrome that still affects to this day. You like you say, driving, you're afraid. Same here. Oh, God, I went up to a popcorn shop the other day, and my front of my car was at a window, and I looked. Oh wow, one of my lights is out. I was terrified. Oh my goodness, I could, So I went right home, waited till the next day, and went out and got it fixed. But those little things like that, they become cumulative. It's like I was watching a fight with the great Howard Cosell, and they were going round and round, and all of a sudden the guy just kind of fell out. And the other announcer said, "Well, it didn't look like a hard punch. Why did he go?" And Cosell said, "Well, it was the cumulative effect of the punches. He's absorbed so many punches. One of those punches and the cumulative have caused him to just finally just drop." And so the effect of these things, it's a disabling situation with our family, and it's a compensable type of a disabled situation that you can be. This traumatic stress on Black people it should be in the what is that, DMV. It should be it is a mental health crisis, and that we need therapeutic and treatment services. And the Bible and the preachers, I mean, come on, we need more than that. We need that and then some. But I don't see people looking at things from that perspective. I think now we're so reactionary that, where do we do now, James? Where do we go from here?
Well, see, let me kind of put this in perspective here. Because as I've said many times before, most of the time, if you have people in the neighborhood that are established criminals, they do not fear the police. So I did not grow up fearing the police. The police to me were just an occupational hazard, just like prison or anywhere else.
I
If
mean,
I
it's
got
not a fear like
no,
a
no, no,
terror, but
no,
there
but
is
but
a anxiety, especially if you're a criminal. It's not a fear; it's an anxiety.
but the thing of it is that I feared the police more when I became an honest citizen than I did when I was a criminal. Because
Because
as
now
you
you're not doing nothing, and you can go to jail
right
for not
right
doing nothing. But when you was doing
right,
something, it's like if I get
right.
caught doing this, and I'm actually doing something. I mean, I
Yeah, yeah,
consequences.
so but I mean, but the anxiety, I can understand, like if I was coming home from work at 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the morning, and a police car, pulled up behind me. I'm coming home from work, but I'm making sure I'm doing the speed limit. I'm making sure, making sure my seatbelt fastened. Never could figure out how a cop could look at my car and see that my seatbelt wasn't fastened, but I made sure it was
They
fastened
can't
anyway.
they can't they got to be so far in your car, and they ain't can't be in there.
Come on now, hey, you be. I'm sure people have been pulled over for window tint, where they check the tint on your car to see if it's too dark. So I understand the anxiety now, but I didn't understand it as a young man because I was a very foolish young man. But the point is, Mr. Scott, when Mayor Frey, the mayor that the people of Minneapolis reelected, when he proposed the new police budget, he added $27 million to the police budget. And then you say that your police are not trained. I mean, what are we supposed to do with this? You've had at least 4 black men killed within what 50 miles of Minneapolis within the last 4 years, including George Floyd. And you're going to tell me that there's not a target on my back?
Well, people see. I mean, people see what's going on. I mean, I don't. It's clear the ineptitude it just runs high. I mean, with the mayor, the city council. I mean, this place, training, sitting around in a room putting up sticky papers. I've been in that little training thing. Put up a little sticky paper, have some donuts, coffee. Um, you know, what kind of training are you really doing? So you're not doing real world type stuff. You're just doing it to say you've done it. It's perfunctory, the stuff that they're doing. They take them, and I've been there. I sat in those meetings. I sat in there with these people, and I can see, well, what are you doing? We're not doing anything. You're talking about you're going to check on this. We need to do something about these families. We need to do something about these things that are causing all these people to not be together, not get their kids in school, not to keep them out of the system. This is what we should be doing, right? And it was just a constant thing where you just have so many people, and I would hope that they mean well, but boy, they're so ineffective and they're so out of touch with what, especially here with the influx of people of color coming into the Twin Cities. This is something that they've never seen before. You could see the panic and this is something that they've never seen this before. They really have shown that they really don't know what to do. And now we have Mr. Crump. He's up here now. He got up here. We probably got up here first thing smoking. So he get up here as fast as he could to get on this one. So
he chased them dang on things. He wouldn't take my case, but he showed enough run after them ones. It's gonna get a lot of media attention.
He couldn't get here fast enough. See, but so that in that part,
which Dr. Casey speaks to my fear of religious leaders, and why is I mean, I do not understand why it takes the killing of another black. I mean, it's not that you haven't had, like I said, you've had 4 within the last years, but it seems like it's when we put our children at harm, because now you got kids coming out of school, you got kids hanging out in the streets. So, who knows who might say something, I mean, just it's a big mixture of kindling. And all it takes is a spark.
We just had another kid killed at school last week. Out there right in Richfield. My second son graduated from Richfield, played basketball there. And so the kid that got killed, he played football for Richfield, and the coach was on the team with my son. They were teammates, and they went to the state tournament together. But I mean, this is a small, close-knit type of community where you would never think somebody's going to shoot and kill a kid at school, on the school grounds. And he shot another kid that's in intensive care, critical condition. I mean, this, I don't know what you can say about that. Can this be prevented by police? Can this be, and I think those questions are so all inclusive that it's not just one answer to those things. It's not, certainly you got to have competent people. If you don't have competent people, it's, you're not, it reminds me of the football game. There was a game, we had a quarterback played here, Archie Manning played here for just a few years. And he was in a game where he got sacked 12 times by the Chicago Bears. And so finally he goes in the huddle and he tells the running back Ted Brown, "Well, you're supposed to, be my last protection. What's going on?" He said, "We ain't got enough people." And so this is what where we're at. We don't have enough good people. We don't have enough people running the police. We don't have a mayor. We don't have somebody that can tell the community where we're going. And I just see that this rudderless thing is where you're going to hear most of the stuff from Lawyer Crump and his people about what should have happened, what shouldn't have, and the murder part. But that's still just one aspect. As sad and sorry as it is, I mean, what happens to the officers?
Well,
Well, okay, so I
you've
wanted.
had one officer charged.
Well, no, I wanted to. So,
No,
um,
he's just off work. He's not charged.
so in studying the law, the immunity law in particular, for my case against the United States of America, I literally, I mean, I read the stuff probably 20 times or more, just refreshing my own mind about what it is that I'm seeing and what it is that I need to do and what the parameters are for moving forward. And literally, if they say that they had a fear of their life, then it excuses their actions, in particular when dealing with the police. But at any point, if they say that they were just doing their job and this was a part of their job, then it wipes away any problems.
Well, again, in this kind of case, they killed the wrong person for one. There's so many mistakes that have been made that the liability is got to be there. And I really think that these parents and these people involved with this young man, they're not just going to say, "Give me a quick check," and that's it. These people are in this thing to really make some changes. And I think that this is, I would hate, God knows, I would hate to be in their situation, losing a kid like that. But I think that they're these are some smart people. These are some people that they're gonna do what they can to make this thing right.
It's going to take a lot to actually change the laws to prevent these things from happening. Whether even if they discontinue no-knock warrant, they will find it's not that I
Yeah.
want to say they will find a way because literally that's what they've been doing. The way that it was written, they don't use no-knock warrants for non-black people. I'm sure not on the same level and scale, but it's effective and it's easy for them
As
to
I said,
apprehend.
68 to 72% of
Yeah.
no-knock warrants were issued
For black
to
people,
minorities.
people of color. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean,
This is a systematic thing. This is
are you telling me that only 18% of white people are dangerous? I mean,
yeah, yeah.
does it go back once again? You talk about slavery. Is it fear of blackness?
Well, when you want to look at a numbers game, just look at the NFL. Just look at the NFL. One black coach. Okay, look at that. The
You
brother.
got two now.
You
You got two now. No, actually, you got three. We got three.
Barely.
Yeah, we
Yeah, the
got.
guy in San Francisco is black, so people don't know that. But
Well,
he's
he's multiracial. You have to be,
well, we can debate that for a whole nother show. I mean, who's what and who's not. If your dad's black, yeah. I mean, I don't, but
well, hey, I don't know how much of the family tree you might want to let know that, about that one drop thing, but
but I'm saying that these numbers go across the board. Okay, these numbers go across the sports spectrum. They go across the political spectrum. Look at the Senate. What do you have? One Tim Thomas Scott. What do you have? One or two there. You have your Clarence Thomas, the mute man that sits on the court. You have See, so this is a by design thing that goes on in this country that says, black people, oh yeah, you can play the game, but you can't run it. We run this thing. We're in charge here. We run the
That's
plantation.
everything,
So
though. That
that's
doesn't
everything.
start
Has
or
anybody
stop
ever
with
has
sports.
anybody ever noticed how Clarence Thomas has managed to keep his reputation, intact among white women? But I mean, I'm just saying, it's, hey, you know, but it, it's here's a city, a state that leads, in police officers killing people of color within the past 20 years. Mr. Scott, I mean, now, and maybe I'm just stereotyping here because, first of all, I never really knew that there was that many black people in the state of Minnesota. I never, because, I'm thinking, Indians is cold as hell up there, and, hey, like I said, I'm stereotyping like hell because, you just don't have, I mean, how many black people do you see on the ski slopes? You understand I'm, I'm just my
But
eyes,
but
okay?
but that perception is actually accurate up until you get to like the 1950s. And from this was a later migration, I think, of black people coming up to the Twin Cities up through the 60s, 70s, 80s, and those numbers are what causes the intimidation of these white folks. What the more number, the fewer the numbers. Oh God, I got a picture of my father-in-law working for Hennepin County. He was, after he got out of the service, he worked in like the land deeds or whatever they did down at the county. And there's this whole big sea of people there, and you have to look real hard to see him. He, he's the only black one in the thing. And see, in that, when you have those few numbers and it just you become kind of an afterthought. They give you a job. But as the numbers come, this is where they start changing the schools, start taking the resources away from them to put them somewhere else, out to the suburbs, out to those areas. Where I grew up, there's 11 high schools. Now there's 5 in the city of Minneapolis. I mean, it makes no sense. Why are people going to live here if they can't send their kids to a school? I
Why
mean,
send their kids to school when 20% of them can't read?
yeah, yeah. And then they take the good teachers out. They take the good curriculums. They take the good programs out. Yeah. What is the incentive? Where is the spark that where you learn something in school, where there's a teacher or somebody that inspires you? See, all these things play into it, and all these things are just not. Money is not it's a be all end all, but we have to have the right people. We have to have people that really, a chief that's not going to allow, and the structure of that. I had one of the high ranking police. See, and that's another thing. The Minneapolis police, see, with Chief Arredondo and 7 officers. Oh, this was 20 some years ago. That chief tried to fire all of them, fire all those 5 officers, said that they were running prostitution and selling drugs on the job. Okay, so he demoted them all, and he was trying to put them in jail. And so they said, you have to really talk to Mr. Ron Edwards about that. He's the one that told me about this. But they went to court. They said, okay, you say we're doing all this stuff. Well, then you go tell it under oath. Let's go to court. Oh, they settle so fast it make your head swim. But Arredondo and those 5 officers were part of that. They had to sue. Arredondo had to sue to keep his job back then. So this rancor and this stuff with these Minneapolis police and these Nazi police people, this is not this is a rancid thing going on with these Minneapolis police. And I don't know what's going on in other jurisdictions, but this one, You allow a Chauvin to train people with 20 things on his record, complaints. He's going to be training people.
Well, yeah,
No,
hey,
uh-uh.
I
Listen,
can
the
put, I
doctor
can,
that did my surgery had four malpractice lawsuits before the VA hired him, so it doesn't surprise me. It is not for quality, it's quantity. It's how many people can they get in there that's gonna
Yeah,
turn a blind eye to whatever it is that they're trying to maneuver. And a lot of times, I always say this. I think that this is foundational when having this type of conversation. Anytime that you have a conversation dealing with race, is that most people that are brown skin are not from outside of the United States. A lot of people have been told that they're African Americans. And I believe even these DNA tests that they're doing, they're going to tell you African so that you don't know your real heritage to this land. And because if you knew that you was a Native American to the land, if everybody really got to the nitty gritty of where their people come from, it was so many tribes. It's not just like one or two tribes for this whole, country. It was several. It was a
I mean,
plethora.
the Iroquois Nation had what, 7 or 8 tribes, 12 tribes itself, and then you had different type. When you come out west, you had the Sioux, you had the Crow, and all of them were each broken up into their own
My
individual tribe.
my
So
native tribe that my great grandmother was and her mother were a part of is Blackfoot. And but a lot, if you realize that you were native to this country, then some of these laws don't apply to you. Some of these mandates don't apply to you. But if they keep you thinking that you're not, then you don't feel like you have any real rights. You feel like only you can only do what the system allows. And I'm not saying that you cannot, but if you understood who you were, the challenge would not be what it is right now. Right now, if they keep you blinded, they keep the wool over your eyes, they keep you believing that Jesus is gonna come back and save you. You've been waiting for 20 100 years, 20 hundreds of years, and he ain't came back. But if they keep you blinded, then you won't even fight. You won't know what to fight for. You don't know, because if you know this your land, you know you fighting for your land. And the European people that are actually the aliens, that actually are the immigrants, they don't have a right to it. But as long as they keep us boggled down or thinking that we are not the real Americans or the original Americans, then we have no say so. We have no, but this is why I believe that we are under such attack.
it's been, it's interesting, but the thing of it, how do you stay up under, or how do you, usually an attack is not sustainable. You attack, you withdraw, you come back, you overwhelm the position. But when you constantly attack, I mean, it's according to Sun Tzu, this is not a sustainable position. How did we as people of color manage to keep ourselves subservient to this siege? I don't you know, like I said, for the life of me, I think with me, it started with the Equality Act because it made our generation forget who we were. Oh, okay, we're equal now. We can, hey, I can go and sit down beside the white man. I can get a job the same place he does, and we forgot that those were nothing but words. We had never been equal. You can go back to the Declaration of Independence. Find me a time in this country when we were equal.
There is no time because again, when you talk about mental warfare, it's something totally different than actually physically fighting. Eventually, physically fighting, you're gonna get tired. But when you flanking the people, when you got squadrons of people that come in shifts where they're rotating the shifts, then you're not gonna get as tired. But when you got mental warfare on your side, then that is already going to disorient the people. The point of torture, which is what black people go through, honestly, anytime that you have to watch people get killed, watch people get beat, watch people go through all these horrific things, that is mental warfare. That is
Yeah,
torture.
yes,
That is what they do in torture chambers. They let you watch something happen to somebody else so that you stay fearful. Even the fact that we keep playing and replaying and reposting and
but,
reposting.
but it's like you were saying earlier, Dr. Casey. It's like at some point, we have to really look up and say, what are we fighting for? What are we really fighting for? Like you say, if you have land, if I have property, well, I'm going to fight you for that. But what do we have? See, and this is
See,
where,
but that's when I say about the knowledge of being native to the land. If we native to this land, then
yeah,
we do have the
then
land.
we
But if
do
we
have.
don't know it, it then it's like, but and I believe that that's why they terrorize like Tulsa, like in Harlem, like all of these different places. The moment that black people get a little bit, because we dominate regardless, they might not let us see act the feel like we dominated or seem like we dominating by being overbearing with what they allow us to do and how. But that's where the mental warfare comes in, where we are so challenged mentally, and even seeming as though we're successful, that we don't realize that without us nothing runs. Without us there is no creativity. Everything that we've ever done, they've taken it and run with it and
Sure.
then act like we didn't do anything.
Yeah, but well, no, as soon as we get a foothold in something, this seems to be what they really want. This is what they keep watching, a foothold. I mean, somebody wants to buy NBC or somebody wants to buy somebody. Well, all of a sudden, something happens to that person. All of a sudden, there's something that pushes that back until we can really hit on
Hold
get
on,
too
Mr.
far.
Scott.
Get too
Hold on,
far.
Mr. Scott. How old are you? Just, I
Well,
mean, you don't
look,
have to give me the exact age, but
look, the bottle may be old, but the wine is still good. Okay, I'm
okay, okay,
71. I'm 71.
okay. So
Mrs. Scott.
you remember HUD? I mean, when it first started.
Yeah,
Okay. You remember Fannie Mae when it first started,
yeah.
right? All of these things were supposed to give us home ownership within our community. We were supposed to be able to buy homes and build our families within our community. So I'm going to ask you, Mr. Scott, how many of those neighborhoods still exist in your city?
None.
Yeah, that's what I
Probably,
thought.
probably none. And so, and those programs, the tendency with those programs that I saw is they come with a great fanfare. They'll put a few black faces up in front of you. They'll get a great fanfare, great fanfare. Oh, but then it peters out just as soon as it came. It peters out just all of a sudden. Oh yeah, interest rates are up. Oh, we've changed this rule, so you got to have this now, and oh yeah, your income's not this, and so they'll just continue to manipulate, sit behind the desk with the fat guys and the cigars to continue to do that. So yeah,
Okay.
but welfare is not fair, and all those things that are welfare, I mean, they come and they go, and if you depend on that, well, this is where you'll be.
But this was just, kind of giving, like Dr. Casey, when you talk about, like how they misrepresent the ownership of land, you know, like, you can buy these many square feet, but you don't really own the land. You understand what?
Everything like that. Listen, war, from every book that I've ever read about war history, everything has been to conquer the land. Who can possess the most land? Who can get the people not to want their land back, really, like, because we think that the government owns the land. They're just taking it over. They're overseeing it. They took it and now they're going to tax you on it. It's a lot of things that we are okay with because that's the only thing we know to be okay with. That's what we know to do. But it's a lot of things that if did nobody do it, what they gonna do? It's nothing that they could really do, because they the army can only do so much. I don't care how many troops you bring back from overseas, they can only do so much. But the goal is to, as long as you're fearful, the fear is the strongest part. That, like, with the art of war, with mental, like, if I can get you to fear me, then I can get you to do whatever I want to. I can get you to stay stifled. Even with welfare, that's a crutch. As long as you and they make it that way to where if you make a certain amount, they're not gonna help you. So it encourages people to make less, do less, because guess what? I need that extra $400. And if I go to this job where I make $20 more than what I'm supposed to, I can't get help with my groceries. It doesn't mean that I don't still need help with my groceries. It just means that I make a little bit more, so I may have a little bit more ability to take care of my regular bills. But food is high, gas is high, everything is high. I mean, it's extremely high now. Based before when I wanted to start driving, I remember when I was turning 16, gas was 89 cents.
Oh, Dr. Casey, you telling on yourself. Wow. That, you could at least say $1.25. Wow.
Nuh-uh, listen, I will be 40 this year, and I am very proud to be 40. On this side of coming to 40, because when I was young, I used to be like, "Oh, you old," and now I'm like, "Okay, I'm old," and I feel it in my bones a little bit. But I am not ashamed of the age that I am, because I know so many people that did not make it to see 39. I know people that didn't make it to see 20, didn't make it to see 25. So, and even with that, as a young black person, that is a stifling thing in our mind, that we believe that 25 is it, like, that we've reached middle age at 20, like life is over at 30 for most people. And even that is a dilemma in our mind that we have to get past. Even that whole you don't work, you don't eat, that's really the slave, like, it's so many things that we have traditionally, like, imprinted in our minds, that goes back to um what makes capitalism run, what makes the system work, is because of the things that we were trained to believe.
Criminals make the system run. I can
I
tell you
mean, well, the politicians are the criminals. What are you talking
that.
about? The
Hey,
people that came
there,
here and
there,
decided
there,
that they didn't
there
want
are
these
different.
slaves in
There are
Europe,
there are
they
different
the criminals.
levels. There are different levels of criminality. We all know that. You know.
The government is the high, is the creme de la creme, because they
There,
controlling
there you
all
go.
of the other little guys.
There you go.
And then whoever controls the government, I wouldn't say
The parole board either says U.S. in front of it or the name of the state. So
See, but the thing is, even with that, when you look at how America started, and how it was, they took over territories and then made those territory states. It's just like, the city that I live in now, it just became a city. Before that, it was just a territory, basically. But when you say city and county, and you put a little bit more ownership on it, it makes it seem like, it's really owned, but it's a corporation. Somebody
hey,
incorporated a city and said, you know what, this is what it is, this is how we gonna run it, this is what we gonna do. And people don't really actualize that it's a LLC. The United States of America is a LLC. That is, it is, the land is not the United States. The business entity that runs this place, the land, is a business. It's the United States. That's the
yeah,
business. It's a LLC. It's a LLC.
The landlord.
Yeah. Basically, and that is exactly what that that statement means. You know, a landlord. That's exactly what they're doing. They left England. They didn't want to be slaves no more, so they came over here and enslaved the black people that was here, and then told them, you know what? We ain't gonna tell them they from here. We gonna tell them they from Africa. We gonna get them good with that one. When we tell them they from Africa, they gonna lose it. They ain't gonna know what to do. They gonna think they supposed to go there, so they ain't gonna want to possess the land that this it's theirs here. It's it sounds crazy if you hear it and you've not studied history, but if you've read books and studied the history, then it's like, okay, it's making a little bit more sense because when you see how it all plays out, and then I tell you all the time, one of the best tours that I've ever gone on, one of the best vacations, is when we went to the Washington D.C. We went to the Capitol, and the most profound thing that I heard in there, and I recorded it, even though it asked not to record, is it say when we got here, it was an experiment. So this whole shit is an experiment, and they experiment with our lives every single day. They don't have a proven system. We are everybody. Nobody knows how to make this shit work. We just know what has worked in the past, so we're gonna keep doing what has worked until it don't work, and then change it as it works.
You think about that, Mr. Scott,
Well,
because you've seen as many changes as I have. You know, I mean,
yeah. I mean,
it's
I think
it's
that
Effective change or just surface level change?
well, that's it depends upon how you look at it. Okay, because right now, as a black man, I would have more rights if I came out as part of the LGBTQ community than I do if I just said, "Hey, man, I'm an African American man," and so forth and so on. I have a better chance of marrying another man than I do being able to vote in Atlanta. Now, to me, that seems a little
Crazy,
fucked,
insane.
fucked up. Okay, to be just, I mean, I'm 75. It
well,
kind of bothers me when it seems like every newsman on CNN, ABC that represents me is gay. I mean, are there any straight men left in America?
Do
Maybe
you
it's just
think that
me.
that is by chance, James, or do you think
No,
that that is
no, no.
strategically?
I know that this. I know that this is strategic because every time you pass something on this side, it kind of takes the sting away from what you've done on this side. And I
exactly.
and once again, I can point to what happened just last week. Oh, it's all about the training. But what about the beginning? In order for you to make sourdough bread, you have to have a starter. Same thing with that no-knock law. There's a reason why that judge in one city wouldn't do it and the other one would. Because he
They
felt he
they
had
know it's dangerous.
because he felt it wasn't about being dangerous. I mean, he had permission. He had permission. He knew, hey, they've been quiet all this time. They ain't gonna say nothing now. Well, oops,
Yeah,
oops. Hey,
yeah,
damn.
yeah.
They really
And he
did.
had the
They
arrogance.
really did say something now, didn't they?
He had the arrogance to say that no, this is how we do it here. This is what we're going to do. This is how we do it here. And as
Right.
far as the other comments, about these OL, well, I shouldn't say it, about the LBT or two or whatever, they have hijacked our movement, is what's happened. Because our movement in the 60s was a strong movement. Things were happening. You could see these pages starting to turn.
Not
But then
just not
all
not
these other
not,
people
not
hijacked. hijack our movement.
Just so y'all know, probably within 48 hours they're gonna take down this show for everything I just said. But we can go ahead.
Well, I don't think that they hijack the I don't think that they hijack things. I just think that they're better organized. They're more passionate about getting the shit done that they want done, and they don't take no for an answer. And a lot of times the adversity that is fought in that community makes you aggressive. It makes you have to fight for everything that you believe that you are supposed to be entitled to, despite your sexual
Sure,
orientation.
but what they're saying, what the powers that be are saying is, we only have this pot for
No,
you
but
people of
that's
color.
that's not the
We
people.
only have this pot for these you people of color, and so
Let
now
me
it's
tell
just
you
going to
something,
be disseminated between all y'all. So just get out of here.
Mr. Scott. You know what they did? They skipped over the blacks. They went to the Asians. They skipped over the blacks. They went to the Muslims. They skipped over the blacks. They skip over the blacks, and they fight for everything else, but the black people as a whole. But again, I know y'all might not want to agree, or you may not even disagree, but there's a reason why black people, the only people on this planet that can absorb the sun and get energized from it, is being targeted. There's no by chance. Every dark magic, everything that has to do with dark, black, or anything, they try to make it seem bad. Dark magic, everything that we get from Egypt is supposed to be evil. Even spiritual heritage and things from our ancestry from the Native Americans, all evil. We can't do nothing that the white people didn't give us. Not a one thing, not a nothing.
Uh,
But it's
Doctor,
not them though. It is the establishment wanting to acknowledge who they want to acknowledge. Who can we put in place to make it seem like we're doing something progressive without doing what we really fucking should do?
Doctor Casey, what's Monday? Isn't that a pagan holiday?
What? You said what's what?
Monday. Isn't that a pagan holiday?
Listen, every single day of the week. I was listen.
Yeah,
I
oh,
know a
okay.
lot of Christian people, and I know I get on their nerves because they everything that they think is evil is everything that the whole damn world is based off of. Christmas is around winter solstice. Halloween is around the other one. Easter is every the seasons change, and no, there's a solstice, and every season change, there's a celebration that
Come
goes
on now.
along
You
with
start
it.
talking about soldiers, now we got to be going around trees and, come on.
Listen. I told you everything that is really substantial. That it's like that. Pastor Troy got a song that talk about, well, what if everything that we think is good is really evil, and everything that's evil is really good, and it's not really bullshit because the more you research and look into it, the more they've painted the picture, even with Jesus. And that's the best
So in
example.
other words, what you're saying is that there is a God.
There is not only a God, there is one supreme being, and Jesus is not the supreme being.
I
Jesus
didn't say
was
nothing
a
about Jesus.
worksheet.
I didn't say nothing about Jesus. Jesus. No, but you believe that there is a God.
I believe that there is it's not a God like somebody or just over us. I believe that the universe has a energy. It's an energetic frequency on within the universe that lives within us all. I believe that the iron within our blood is what helps keep us grounded with the iron in the core of the earth. And I believe that the energy that controls a whole universe has us all in sync. One thing that affects me, it affects you, even if it doesn't directly affect you. We are all one. I don't really believe in race, although there is racism. I don't believe that we are all different, although we all are literally individually different. We are all one. We make up one whole organism. The earth isn't just the earth. We are a part of the earth. We just see ourselves as other. I don't know why. But there is a God, the universal energy that really covers the whole earth. Like spirit, if spirit is breath, then that would mean oxygen and the sun and the moon all make this earth be what it's supposed to be.
Well, but what about these people like Joel Osteen,
Those are just people pimping the system. No different than the government pimping the system.
TD
No
Jakes,
different.
TD
Hmm?
Jakes, TD Jakes?
Now, if you really ever listen to TD Jakes, he pimping the system too. It's a
Well,
job. They are working jobs.
thank
These
you.
are
It's a
businesses.
job. It's a job.
TD Jakes, if you listen to TD Jakes, he know the history about Britain and how they came, how the slaves and all, how he knows all. You can hear him talk about it. Now, the thing is when you know enough, you got to be strategic about how you give the information so he don't get sat down. He not going to say, hey, this is what it is. He got to deliver in a way that is acceptable to the Christian world and the community, because if not, then they will reject him and reject the message. It's almost like now it's easier to say Jesus than saying Christ, when Jesus represented Christ. Jesus was a man that had the anointing, but people want to make them interchangeable. Like they want to make the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit interchangeable. Where is the woman? There has to be a woman in that trajectory in order for it to even be what we're saying the Bible represents. But people don't want to. They've been feared into not questioning what we've been told to believe. Because if you question the Bible, you're going to hell. And I mean, we're living in hell. But if you question the Bible, you're going to go to a place worse than what you're living in. And people fear that. People are so amped up to go to heaven that they will be here and they will suffer just so they can say, I suffer with them so I can reign with them.
Well, I
They be
think
getting on my nerves.
they'll say that they've been saved.
Well,
See?
the only thing I know is wherever I end up, there's going to be a whole lot of people that's going to be shocked as hell. So
Good or bad.
that-
I don't believe
it's, you
I
know,
believe that there is a heaven and a hell. I actually had a dream about one of my other uncles that died when I was like in the 7th or 8th grade, and I had a dream that he in my dream he was going to hell. And then in the dream, like I woke up distraught, but then a few weeks later I woke up and it was like God had allowed him to go to heaven, and it gave me peace. Like I seen it in the dream, and I have dreams like this often, but these are things that if I share, they're gonna tell me I'm evil and I'm going to hell.
see, you're a witch. I mean, what's your address? I got
They
to.
gonna they gonna throw some holy water on the screen
I'm
because they
telling you,
gonna
she
want me to
is.
go.
She, you know, I'm getting ready to send some kerosene over your house right now.
See,
I
You
gotta see if I can find my prayer cloth.
see,
listen, see,
but
they sending all the angels to get me now because
see, you
and
know,
the crazy part is like they don't realize that the same thing that they're doing is really the same witchcraft and the same thing that they're saying
see,
that you should not do. I mean, it'd be the same thing.
I got to ask you, Dr. Casey. Like I'm assuming, I know what they say about the word assume, but anyway, that you work with a lot of people around your age, and maybe some even younger. How do you reconcile the bullshit with what they see versus what they're told?
So
Because you see that thing that grandma used to say, do as I say, not you know that don't work no more.
it didn't work then. What are you talking about?
Well,
It didn't work then.
hey,
Like it's almost like
look,
people talk about
here,
young girls
let-
being
let-
sluts now, but your grandma had 5 different baby daddies with about
yes,
8
yeah, yeah,
kids.
but you, hey, look here. There's
Look,
no
they
way.
look. My grandma
There's
got
no way.
had my
There's no way in the
grandmother.
world that you can
But,
say Auntie was a hoe.
but they got
Even
saved.
though,
See, they
even though
got
she,
saved.
even though she had her own corner and she had her own tricks, but she was, she was just, she was just a little, sexually promiscuous, but that's so, how we took those things back in those days, I mean, come on,
It's just like when people talk about marriage right now, and they like, well, your grandmother stayed together with that. Do you know how much bullshit she went through to stay with that man because she couldn't afford to go and get her own, because she didn't have the resources, because they wouldn't pay women, hire women, and you couldn't do nothing but clean up after somebody else. Like, it's a lot of things that we see in society as, oh, it worked back then, and we don't realize that that wasn't working. They just made it look good.
hey,
Well,
but
So it is.
but
It's difficult. Okay, so it's difficult to deal with the truth versus the fiction and the outright lies. However, in the internet world, where I can not only say what I'm talking about, but go and post things to support what I'm saying, it kind of helps people a little bit, but you have people that are stubborn. But the stubbornness is based on the fear of, well, that's the devil, or that's a demon. And like, they're just afraid. So it's a matter of providing information, and then giving the resources sometimes. But a lot of people are a lot more open than what you think, because we see that there is no results from previous efforts. And when there is no results, there are no rewards. Look around. A lot of the people that tell us to go to church or is suffering for Jesus is suffering. Like, and this is why a lot of times younger people have a hard time listening to older people, because you're not showing me nothing. You're not showing me where something worked for you. So why would I want it to work for me, or why would I try to work that on me? And I really think that the internet really changed the world. Like, I don't think that Y2K was a problem where they thought that it was going to be a blackout. I think that they realized that the truth would come out once the internet really expanded the way it has. Like, since 2012 or so, um things have changed drastically since 2000. From here to 2000, not just phones, not just technology, but the amount of information that's available, the ability to grab the information and consume information that was hidden. Literally, I have at least 13 articles about my grandmother. I've never seen these articles before. I had to pay $75 on a free trial in order to get these articles, because guess what? Nobody in my family has seen these artifacts. So now I'm posting shit and they looking at me like, where'd she get this from? Well, how you know that? Because I had to go pay for it. I had to go look for it. But there is no transfer of knowledge. So there can be little of transfer of wealth. And even when there is, people are so afraid that they don't really grasp it or apply it. You can know a lot, but how many people actually apply what they know? They don't. A lot of people just like to say that, well, I know this and I know that, just for an argument's sake, just to have a comeback and a rebuttal. But they don't apply the information. Like, wisdom is not the knowledge of stuff. Wisdom is the application of what you know. Because if you can't apply it to your life, then why the hell you know it? Like, what purpose is it serving?
okay, now I can answer that because if you are incarcerated and you got a lot of time on your hands, the only thing
I
that
mean,
you're
but
gonna the only thing that you're gonna acquire is jailhouse knowledge. And a lot of times most of the time, by the time you get on the street, that shit is useless. But
well,
anyway,
it'd be outdated. But no, but in there, that's totally different. I'm talking about people that may have never been incarcerated. Everybody ain't never been incarcerated. I've
a
never
lot,
had a criminal, but if you know it, even if you got jailhouse knowledge, you got all those library books or whatever other books you got available. What are you learning that you can apply to your life? I just sent my nephew a book about stocks, and he be wanting his little books, Assassin Creed books or whatever he be wanting to read. But what are you learning that you can apply to your life and use it when you get out? So you're not making the same mistakes. I mean, some
But
people like going to jail. I don't know why, but some
no,
people like
look
going.
here,
Yeah.
look here. This little thing here, they got a little thing on here called Cash App. You can buy dollars worth of stock. It's okay. It's not, things aren't like they used to be. I mean, you can buy. I can buy a dollar's worth of Costco right now. You know, I mean, there are so many things and so much knowledge that if you learn how, this is a tool. Just like whatever paraphernalia I used when I was, those were tools. You have to learn how to use your tools and craft your life according to what you use those tools for. If the only thing that you're gonna do with these is play Assassin's Creed and Candy Crush, you know, you don't have to pay whatever they charge for an iPhone now or an Android phone. You can go get you can get you a flip top and do that. Well, maybe I don't know, but I'm not.
You can't do all that shit on no flip top now.
Well, I mean, basically what I'm saying, like I'm not going to use this to play Assassin's Creed. I'm going to find some kind of way to find me some knowledge, to impart some knowledge, or do something that I think, as you said, is constructive to me.
Well,
So
like,
many people
I
are
mean, it has
distracted though.
changed. The internet has changed this thing. I mean, I was in business for years. After I left the state and controlled it, I had my own rehabilitation business. I worked with lawyers and workers' comp. I had a nurse whose husband was a workers' comp judge, a good friend of mine. I had 3 suites downtown Minneapolis. I had a computer in each one, a phone system. I still got this phone system. It ain't worth nothing now. I still got this whole phone system, 3 or 4 people be on the phone. I do my same consulting now, just looking at this computer and with this phone. I can do my bills. I can accept work. I can push the button. I can do the report. I can send them the bill with this. I can be in the car doing this.
But
So,
don't, but don't you find it interesting that the same children that can't read can send a text, they can get
yeah.
on TikTok, they can go to Tinder,
Well, wait a
they can.
minute now, James. Have you ever seen those text messages? Because these kids is not the complete
well,
sentences. They don't type
well,
complete words. They got
your
abbreviations for
phone,
you, and you is a three-letter word.
your phone autocorrects now. Your phone does all that for you. You don't have to know. You
My
don't even have to know how
phone
to
mess
spell
my
no more.
Yeah.
listen, James. My phone mess up my typing more than it
Well,
corrects it.
of course. Well, that's like a person following a GPS. But that's what they use. That's the same thing they use. Uber and Lyft and all of them. That's what they use. But sometimes the GPS puts you on down the street where they got construction. That street ain't there no more. You so you know. But Mr.
Especially
Scott,
those
come on.
older GPSs, the first, the ones that wasn't on your cell phone. Even your cell phone to get you lost sometimes. But
Yeah.
the ones that you used to buy out the store, you used to have to put them in the car. Yeah, those used to
what,
always have you messed up. If you ain't updated, you was out.
what they call you? What they call them? Gold? I forget. There was so many of them that came through. But Mr. Scott, like you worked with children's services, and although there's a certain stigma connected with children's services, have you seen an uptake in cases for children's services, considering that we have so many one parent families and so many kids that aren't in school right now?
I haven't really followed it too much over the last few years, but one thing that has been a big thing here in Minneapolis, they used to have a place run by an outfit called Catholic Charities. And what this place was, it was called St. Joseph's Home for Children. And so this is where they would put kids, they take them out of the home, they would use them there like a jail or something. You'd be processed there. In other words, you'd see a nurse and you'd see, usually they're on a 72-hour hold, meaning they can stay there. They're going to have a hearing in 72 hours to say, parents say, why you should give the kids back to you. Okay. And all the kids went to St. Joe's. They all went through there, even if they went to a foster home or if they went to a parent, they'd go through St. Joe's first. Well, now Catholic Charities got out of the business of St. Joe's. St. Joe's building is still there. I don't know what they do with it, but they don't do any of the placement stuff for kids, out of home placement stuff. So they had a big supposed push that they were gonna, oh, how brilliant this is. Let's find some relatives for these kids. Oh, wow, you just thought of that? What a brilliant thought. And so now supposedly they're doing more community, placing kids with family. But I mean, I haven't kept up with, but with them closing the St. Joe's facility, because all the placements went through there. So I don't know what they're, I don't know exactly how they're doing that now.
Well, now now they've closed this facility that you just mentioned.
Yep.
You also mentioned that they closed at least 6 high schools.
Yeah.
So
Along with the feeder grade schools. Yeah.
so what is the state of education in Minneapolis and the state of I mean, the only thing that we hear about is the shootings, the killings. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah. Well, it's and I'm sure Don Allen on his show, he talks about this, just underachievement, students that, are reading math levels below grade levels. Um, a lot of people in the city getting out of the city to go to the suburban schools, or there's a lot of charter schools around now, so there's more options with school. Um, and what's going on, like I say, a kid gets shot at the school. They shot the bus driver today. I don't see where the emphasis is really on the education piece for these kids. I mean, where's the program that's getting them to these STEM programs, that's preparing them for the next generation of jobs? I don't really, I just, maybe I'm just not that close to it anymore, but I don't get a feel for it. No.
you budgeted $6 million to your education
Yeah.
last year. No,
Yeah.
2020.
Yeah. And I'm sure they're doing that in every state. But I mean, where's the outcomes? I mean, this is
That
where,
money doesn't normally
the,
make it to the black community though. That normally
yeah,
is goes where the highest paid tax brackets are.
yeah. And again, where's the outcomes? I mean, this is what we need to see. And then again, to me, these things always come back to the parent. I mean, where are the parents in these things that are guiding these kids? And it's just, I mean, that's the dysfunction of the family system. They say that doesn't exist anymore. That two-person family, blah blah blah. Well, still, there has to be some leadership, some direction in your families for kids. And I see more and more carjackings here. I mean, there's been kids just taking a car and driving around with it and just leaving it. Might shoot you if you say anything.
Different generation. I mean, I
I think crime travels in time because sometimes in some places things were a certain way and then it just slowly spread. I don't know if it's exposure to seeing, how bad it is somewhere else and what other people are doing to make it seem like well they should do it too. But it is sad. I think the saddest
Dr.
part.
Casey, we usually waited until you parked your car and went in the house before we took it. I mean, we at least had that much courtesy. Let you get home, take your groceries out the car, put the kids, before we took your car. I
I
mean,
mean, yeah, this is a new generation. They are more ruthless. They are
Yeah.
definitely less
uh,
parented, but you have a lot more parents on drugs and
when I
substances.
got my first
Yeah.
weapon, it was a tool. It was it was it was a part of my occupation, just like when I was in the army. It was a tool. It wasn't a weapon. It was a tool.
I mean, but they don't learn that though. this is the thing. A lot of the older generation, y'all had to go to the military. A lot of people had to. It was certain things that forced y'all to have certain types of
Yeah.
structure that there is no force for now. There is no force for structure right now. Parents can't really whip their children like that.
Yeah.
There is no automatic enrollment into the military because that's what got y'all a lot of structure. Now it created a lot of damage, but it also created a lot of structure for people. I'm telling it, like, the military is the reason why I'm so structured right now. If I was not have gone to the army, I would still be the same person, but it wouldn't be the version that you see. It really wouldn't. And knowing that, it kind of humbles me because I know that there are other versions of people that they could be. It's like I see the best in people. But no matter how good I see in somebody else, until they recognize it, until they acknowledge it. My daughter, she's drawing. I mean, she's really kind of good to be 11, about to be 12 years old. But today I was like, baby, you are really good. Like, this is amazing. Like, for your age, this is phenomenal. Don't compliment me. Like, she was didn't even want to or know how to take the compliment from her mom. And that is something that children have to be willing to do, is to receive those compliments, to know how to receive the compliment and how to adjust to whatever it is. You don't have to get a compliment and then get the big head. You can get the compliment and make that be fuel to work harder. But you're dealing with, listen, I'm telling you, you're dealing with people that already have post slave trauma. Then you got post parental trauma. Then you got post religious trauma. Then you got all of these add on and add on and add on. And now the kids don't want to listen because what you was doing didn't work. What grandma told you didn't work. And all these things, where are the results? Where have we advanced? Jesus is coming to save us. Where he at? We ain't seen him. We still struggling. So where is he at? You're saying he don't never fail us, and when you see young children watching older people struggle, but swear Jesus is coming, that is not somebody that they're going to follow and listen to. And then you got substance, man. Weed is not bad. Weed is not, ain't got nothing on heroin, ain't got nothing on crack, ain't got nothing on cocaine. It ain't got nothing on all these real drugs, and especially liquor. Like, liquor is worse than heroin and cocaine, if you ask me, because it's a silent killer. It's something that you don't, it don't seem that bad, so you don't realize how messed up that liquor is, messing with your mind, messing with your habits, messing with how you raise your family and how active you are, even messing with your day to day, your inner workings of your body. You know what I'm saying? Like, and we don't take that into account. So if you got a parent that worked all day, get off work, they stressed about work, and they go home, they fussing at their kids so they get a drink, and then they out of it. What is the kid going? What is the kid looking forward to? Where is the example to say, you know what, I want to be like them when I grow up? They don't have it, and especially in places where it's extreme poverty. In places where it's extreme crime comes from extreme poverty. And in those places, if you feel like you don't know what else you're going to do, if you feel like there's no hope, even if somebody could paint a picture that looks like it should be hope, if you don't feel hope in your house, in your family, in your situation, then you're going to do what hopeless people do. Do whatever they can to survive. And if I ain't got it, ain't nobody gonna have it. I'ma take it. I'ma take it. You know why they're taking? Because nobody is giving, nobody is showing, nobody is helping, nobody is molding. And until that happens, we're going to be in the same, it's a cycle. Same thing
But
keep happening.
but here's the thing, Doctor Casey, and again, maybe I see, maybe once again it goes back to old school, whatever you want to call it. But if you don't have anything, what can I possibly take from you?
The
And
little that you do have.
no, no, that no. Then, then, then we
Look,
both.
look, look, look at it, when you deal
Hold on.
with
See,
relationships, it's like that.
okay. See, here's the thing that I learned as a young adult. Okay, there's no need for me to rob the corner gas station. because all the gas stations in the neighborhood take their money to the bank. So why should I mean, maybe I just think on a different scale. But
James,
you know,
ain't nobody robbing no banks because that's where all the money go, James. Ain't nobody
please,
robbing the
please,
bank.
please,
I
please.
mean,
Hey, you better check my record. I got my
no,
first
no.
job.
I
I got my first job when I was 38 years old, and that
my
was because I
cousin,
had
he
four
served
strikes.
time for robbing a bank. And so I'm not saying don't nobody really rob banks. I have a cousin that served time for robbing a bank. But I'm
But I'm
saying
just
we
saying
not
it.
telling nobody to go rob no
No,
banks.
but what I'm saying is, if you're going to think, don't think petty. That's what I'm saying. And
I understand.
the- and don't
Petty crimes
teach
is get you nowhere.
and don't teach your kids to think petty. I mean, like I said, it doesn't make sense for me to take the chance that I'm gonna go and burglarize your house. I might catch you sleep. You might stab me. There's so many things that that could go wrong because I know what would happen if I catch somebody in my house. It's okay. I I know what would happen. If somebody tries to mug me, then we got a problem. Now, if you put a gun in my head, then we. But but what I'm saying is those things. We have to learn as a nation, as a people, or whatever. We cannot think small. There's a bigger picture. You have to think out, just like we used to think in terms of, okay, I'm going to buy this home because I don't want to rent anymore and I'm not going to keep paying so and so rent. I want to own my own. That became a myth. But at least we had the dream.
Well, yeah, and that brings to what are these kids thinking of now? I mean, I was coming up. One of the things my grandmother, I had a cousin that were the same age. She was a girl. She got married at 18. Okay. And so I went away to college for a year or two. And then well, when are you getting married? I said, I have no idea when I'm getting married. I'm not even thinking about that, but this is what they thought. This is what they thought. And so that kind of stayed in the back of my mind. And I think finally my grandmother said, look, you can't have all these women. All these women are going to run you nuts. Why don't you just pick you out a good one and be done with it? I said, well, that sounds good, but I'm having too much fun right now.
You
And
told you was
so,
a Rolling Stone.
and so when I was 28, I did get married. Wonderful woman, wonderful family, wonderful kids. It was great until I lost her. But that's something that was in kind of the parents had always instilled something like that in me to do that. So I said, well, maybe I would do that if I found the right person. And I did. But I don't know what kids, I mean, my two boys, I mean, they each have a little girl. They have, one of them has a girlfriend, the other girlfriend he broke up with. And so he has his daughter one week and she has him a week. I look at that and I'm like, eh, thinking me raising them, I wanted to raise them with her. I mean, that's what we wanted to do. The kids, the things that we did together, everything we did was all part of what this was, what was important to us. And I just don't see, and now with all the things that bleed over and the LGP and the boy can use the women bathroom and all this whole kind of stuff that just kind of just muddies up everything to me. And I don't see, it seems like the kids have such a, not to mention the distractions, the computers, the things they see on TV, the peers, all the things that they want, the $200 Jordans and the $300 stuff that they're not working. Where do they get this stuff? It really just seems like these kids are under really a lot of different pressures and things that even as an adult, I'm not really. I mean, when my little 4-year-old daughter puts her hand on her hip and said, "Well, my daddy said I can do," and I said, "Well, I'm your daddy's daddy. Now, do you understand that?" But these kids just, I don't know, the environment that they grow up in. it's kind of a I observing it from the outside. Um, I see kids younger and younger getting into serious altercations with guns, bringing guns to school, things like that nature, and it's really something to see as I get older. Like I say, now I'm not that old. I mean, I still got it. I mean, I'm still in the game, but
I
it's
like Mr. Scott. He's funny.
it's really something to really watch. Like these grandkids, how are they gonna be? I really want to do things for them like I did for my kids, but at the same time, I'm not their father. And sometimes I kind of forget that when I'm with her or with them talking to them, that they have their own father. That he tells them what to do, not me. I have a different role in
That
finding.
should still be a part of your role, though. I mean, as guidance
Oh
in
yeah,
addition.
it's gonna be. It's gonna be, but at the same time, I've realized that they're men, and they're parents, and that's what I want to see them, step up and do that.
uh, Mr. Mr. Scott. Now,
Yeah,
like I said, we're not that far apart. So I don't know about you, but when I went to grandma's house, grandma's rules went. It didn't make no. Daddy could say what he wanted because the first thing she gonna tell me is, "I'm your mama," and he respected that.
yeah,
That's the
yeah,
thing that I mean. I don't
yeah,
care how old you get or how young you are.
yeah.
The thing that I think that we've lost within our community is respect for one another. Dr.
Yeah,
Casey, can you speak to that?
yeah, I agree.
I don't really know what to say because I mean, in order for respect to be there, you have to be present. And not always only physically present. You have to be mentally present. So even if you're around, but if you're around and not paying attention to your child, you can't instill those things. But again, I'm raising a daughter, and she has a personality that has a lot of attitude, and I'm trying to figure out where she got it from, but then I look at myself and I realize that you know my
No,
goal has to be
no
not to
mirrors in your house, huh?
the goal has to be to not minimize her personality or her strength, but to try to guide her in how to use it. Like you don't have to be rude for no reason, but there may be a time where you need to be rude. You know what I'm saying? Like, and respect is one of those things you have to be nurturing in order to really get respect. You respect your grandmother. Yeah, she'll whoop your ass, but she was always nurturing too, I'm sure. And when you know
Yeah.
somebody cares about you, then you are able to look at them in a different type of light than if you don't think somebody care about you. If you don't, it's you not my daddy. You know why they say that? Because they're not sure that your love is as strong as the father that they came from. So, and when you're saying that, it's a defense mechanism because, well, how do I know you love me? How do I know you care? How do I know that you're here to protect me? And until you've proven that, I don't know. So as long as I don't know, then I'm gonna pop off. And that's the way this generation kind of is. It's not sad, it's just the reality of the evolution of life. Every generation, it seems as though we see more of the truth. Because in previous generations it was a lot of fear. You couldn't be mad. You couldn't, what I'm saying, have nothing negative to say. You couldn't be disrespectful. You couldn't do a lot of things. And that you couldn't do it, people are doing it now more than ever before. It's no real way to get beyond it, other than being supportive, being there for people, showing people that you care so they can value and honor when you do say something. Respect is being honored when you speak, mostly. Being valued, and show me your value. Show me that I can respect you and not be disrespected. Like it's a lot of little things that older people weren't privy to.
Well,
Y'all
okay.
wasn't allowed to feel disrespected by a parent. Y'all weren't allowed to do certain things. Y'all weren't allowed to talk back. And,
Oh hell no, no, no,
you weren't allowed to do it.
no, 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 and neither were my kids. As far as if talking back to me would find you often under a table or somewhere. I mean, I, that's just the way it was back in the 70s, 80s. That's just the way it was. But also, now my grandfather used to get so drunk that he couldn't drive home. He'd have to sit me on his lap, and I would have to steer the car home. But I always, that was grandpa. I respected grandpa. I mean, and you better not say nothing about grandpa. you know, didn't matter. But there was a sense of also a sense of family there. You know, I have I have nieces and nephews right now that fight among each other. I mean, fight like cats and dogs. I mean, like they don't know each other. We never had that. I mean, I could get mad at my sister and so forth and so on, but I knew that if I raised my hand back, if my mother even thought that that was in my mind, there was consequences to pay. And that's why I say we've lost a sense of family, we've lost a sense of respect, and I understand that respect has to be earned. You know, uh, uh,
What makes
when
a
you
family a family? Not just blood. It wasn't just blood
oh
that
no
made you feel
no
like
no
that.
no there were certain interactions, but it started as blood. I didn't question, if this was my, I didn't question whether or not this was my brother. If my mother said this was my mother, I mean, if my
But
mother
so it
said
didn't start with you. My next thing was going to say, because you could be told that a neighbor was a cousin and you wouldn't question if they were blood related or not. It's not about blood
oh
as
come on,
much as it
huh?
is.
Come on, in the projects, every next
Everybody's your
door
cousin.
was
That's
right.
my point. That's why I said, is
But
it what
your
makes
your aunt,
family? Is it blood
your
or is it something
even
auntie.
other than?
even in that environment, though, there's order. There's some degree of order. Like in our house, we lived upstairs from people. Certain places we lived in, we lived upstairs. They had the downstairs. And so there was order. What we did in the house is one house we couldn't play in the backyard because they owned the yard and they did. So we went over to the school, which was right across the street, and did our playing, whatever we wanted to do. But there was some order in these households, where kids, went to school. We came in when the lights came on outside in the summertime. I mean, there was some order to what they were doing. And yeah, it could be a cousin. I mean, there were some cousins that came up from Chicago or down south to stay with us for a while. I don't know how or why, but they would be in the neighborhood. The same with kids in the neighborhood. They would come. But there was some type of an order where people just knew, oh, this is a mother, this is my father, or this is my caregiver, or this is the grandmother, or this is the aunt. This is who I answer to. But
Was it fear based though, Mr. Scott?
that, maybe to a point it was. I mean, we another thing we used to do. Used to have school. They would send you home for lunch break, and then you come back to school. So a lot of times we would go. Some of the choir ladies and my mom's friends live across the street or down. We would go there and have lunch. And so, but we do what they said do when we are in their house. I mean, that was just. I don't think I was a. Well, I was afraid of Miss Moody because Moody Moody sat on a high chair and she couldn't move, but she had this cane. And so we knew as long as we
See,
stayed out of range, we stayed out of range of the cane, we was okay. So, but
if
and
you
there's
really
nothing
think
wrong with
about,
that. There's to me there is nothing wrong with a healthy dose of fear and respect. It's both. It can be both the same thing. It can't be both similar things. I told my brothers one time, I said, I think I can take the old man. I think I can take him. And my brother's like, no, man, he's gonna kill you, man. Don't do it. Don't do it. And so we would play boxing, me and dad, and I was kind of like I was gonna get him for real. And then he just hit me in my shoulder, and my arm just kind of,
Remind you.
just kind of died. It just wouldn't move. So I said, well, it's probably a bad idea right now. But I'm saying that there is some order in these homes, and I don't care if you lived in the project. I don't care if you lived in,
But what
whatever
I'm
you
saying,
get
what
your hands on. There was some order, and I think that's what James is saying. We don't have.
there is not as much fear as it was back then, though. Either
But see
the
now,
fear factor is a real factor. Like
but Dr.
being
Casey,
afraid.
see, but Dr. Casey, we're both soldiers, different eras. But I come from the time when, like I got the old speech, you know. Anytime one of you guys wants to meet me out behind the building, you're welcome to it. Well, hey, I'm airborne. I'm on my way to Vietnam, and he didn't already did 2 tours in Vietnam, but this is a little bitty motherfucker, trying to tell me, I done got sick of his, you know. Well, when I woke up and the guys told me what happened, from then on, I was very glad to, follow his orders.
See, but
But
sometimes it comes with an ass whooping or something that happened.
Yeah, but it
And
doesn't.
like
It doesn't come with me seeing you sitting in a car and shooting you. Okay, it didn't come with me. I see you at the gas station. Oh, I'm just gonna put a bullet in you. No,
see,
we
but
would go.
that's
We would,
not that. These people, that's why it's a shoot, a kill or be killed world right now. It's back
but
to
I was
that
also
an eye
taught the
for an eye.
value of a bullet. Bullets cost. That's
They
why
ain't
they
that.
teach.
They ain't that.
That,
James,
that's why
them
they
bullets
teach.
is not that expensive.
That's why they teach you to fire in 5-shot bursts. I'm sorry. Hey, I learned my lessons well. I'm sorry. I mean,
Is
hey.
it? Look, but ammo isn't as expensive to some people as ego.
if I need more than 5 shots to take care of my business, either something's wrong with my aim or else you really goddamn fast. But that's a whole different story.
They
But
might be zigging and zagging. They might be
yeah,
moving
well, yeah,
around on you. They trying to,
yeah, well, But then don't be mad because you made me waste my bullets, and we got another conversation. But anyway, anyway, you know, uh, I'm glad we had this conversation, and I'm really glad that it ended up on kind of the fear factor. Uh, Mr. Scott, when you look at everything that's happened in your city within the past 72 hours, you want to give us your final thoughts?
yeah, I've. It's been really something to watch. A lot of young people, kind of leading the charge with a lot of what's going on, and I hope that maybe can be some type of a turning point for them, where I think they've been forced in a lot of this to really grow up faster than they probably should have. And I think now they're saying, you're in high school, you're in positions now to make some choices about your future, make some choices about how you want this community, about some choices in your school. And I think that if there's anything good that can come out of it, I think that anything that's going to galvanize youth to, really want to be a part of this life, to, acquire property if they want, to have a career if they want, to realize that at this stage, um, let's get rid of this violence. Let's get rid of this mentality of the police. This needs to just be totally rooted out. And then we can get a new generation of people in that can have seen up close the George Floyds, the Dantes, the what we see here, just one right after the other. I mean, things happen while we're in a trial with the other thing. Then they shoot another kid. I mean, so it's happening so fast that I'm hoping that these kids will find their way, and we can get back to a safe summer, because thank God it's not going to be cold all the time here. It's going to get better, and I would hope that things somehow can settle down. But I don't think until we get better leadership, between the mayor, trust in the communities, the city councils. I mean, I don't know. We have a sheriff here. I don't know if you talked about that. The sheriff that was tore up his car. He was drunk driving at a meeting, and he's not gonna quit. He's not gonna. He says it's already taken care of. He's in treatment. He's already taken care of. He's already gone to court. This all happened in 2 or 3 weeks. See, the average person wouldn't be treated that way. So hopefully he's on the way out. But we need a big change here. That's what I'm looking for.
Dr. Casey, your final thoughts for the evening.
Knowledge, understanding, wisdom. Speaking Freedom TV. That's it. That's my
Have
thought,
you,
because I
have you
mean,
taken vaccine yet? Have you taken vaccine?
no, and I'm not. You know why I'm not? Right now, I just seen where in some countries the vaccine is not even being offered because they are not able to waive the liability for it. So I'm really not taking it now, because if y'all not gonna give it to somebody, if you can't, if you got to be held liable for reactions, then that tells me that you're expecting a lot of reactions, even if you don't say it out loud. It's the underlying things that are not said but are said without saying it.
That's the AstraZeneca that's been tested in third world countries anyway. That's one of the reasons why that's not the one that
No,
I
no,
opted
no,
to take.
no, no, no,
Go ahead.
no,
Go ahead.
no. That's Pfizer and Moderna that was just talking about not taking it to some countries because they couldn't waive the liability for it. These vaccines are not as safe as you think they are. A lot of people that are passing away are having reactions from being vaccinated, and they're not realizing the side effects are coming from the vaccination. But I don't want to harp
Mhm.
on that because I'm talking to people that's vaccinated. So that can
Yeah,
I don't want to put that on anybody. I pray that the vaccination do work, that it's not something that affects us long term in our health. And I say our because I'm talking about the collective, because there are a lot of people that are doing it because they're afraid. There's a
There's
lot of people
another.
that's doing it because of their jobs. They're not doing Everybody is not getting the vaccine because they feel like they really want it or trust it. They don't
I,
feel like they have a choice.
I went to the Timberwolves basketball game with my brother last week. Okay, I was in Chicago, and they put out a thing, said you got to have a vaccine or you got to have a test
You told us about that story, and
to
yeah.
guess
get in.
what?
You got to
He
have a test to
he
get
should have
in.
paid that $45 to get that test done if he really wanted to go.
Okay, so this is what happened. He did take the test for $45. Everybody that came in there gave $45, and they just let everybody in if you took the test. They didn't say nothing about no results. They didn't say anything. They
Because
just said,
it's not
"Here,
about that.
you're
This is
good."
more about money than it is about anything
And
else. Guess what?
that's
They just
weird.
announced the first billionaire that got to do with them COVID testing or something crazy. Like y'all making billionaires off of COVID now. So this is what this is about. Because I
Well,
mean, clearly,
Pfizer has definitely made billions off of
Yeah,
the
look,
yeah.
I own
vaccine.
stock in Moderna and Pfizer. I'm not hating. I got stock in both companies, but I'm not taking the vaccine. Okay.
Well, now, wait a minute, hold it now, because according to my stock market, Moderna is down about $5 a share.
th- they can be down right now.
Okay, all right.
Honestly, almost everything is down. Has been down for the last 2-3 weeks. But guess what? It goes down. But what do they say? We fall down, but we get up.
Oh Lord,
So it might be down right now, but them things
I
going
got to
up.
go, y'all. I got to,
All right.
on the Negro spiritual. I got to go.
Yeah.
I got you found you found you found a way to get the. Oh Lord, is Jacob's ladder next? I mean, come on, what's happening
The wheel.
All right, now
That right now
the,
somebody is singing. We come this far Bye, Faye.
All right,
Ain't
Joe.
turn
Yeah,
around.
Don't make me break out into Amazing Grace now. All right, y'all. I'll see y'all next week. Y'all have a good one.
All right, you too. All right, Doc.
All right. In the
Doctor,
show, stay on. I want you to help me test my mic, please.
okay. All right. I'll stay on.